Picture a true crime thriller, right? But instead of a bank heist or some elaborate casino job, the target is literally the food sitting on your dinner plate right now. And the crime scene? Our nation's highways. In today's Explainer, we're unpacking a wild federal civil lawsuit out of Illinois that exposes a massive alleged deception just completely hiding in plain sight.
It really forces us to ask kind of a terrifying question. How do you actually know the food at your local grocery store is safe? I mean, we all just sort of trust the system. We rely on logistics logs and those little plastic security seals on the backs of delivery trucks. But what happens when those exact safety measures get hijacked? Well, that question leads us straight to a pretty shocking discovery down at a Costco in West Palm Beach. So, May 9, 2024, a completely routine delivery of Random Meal Solutions rolls up, but it gets abruptly rejected by Costco. And why? Because Costco had just received photographic and video evidence showing that this temperature-controlled trailer had been secretly opened, tampered with, way back in some truck yard in Illinois. Now, this wasn't just a simple mistake or a broken seal. It was a deliberate breach of the food's chain of custody. And honestly, it was the exact crack that broke open this massive legal case. According to the complaint, the Davidovich family orchestrated what's called an association in fact RICO enterprise. And they basically ran it like a multi-headed hydra, all operating out of just one single truck yard in Prospect Heights, Illinois. It's a total web of shell companies. You've got USA Truck Lines and Steadry acting as the official employers. Then, Quality Transport steps in as a fake, customer-facing identity. Better Repair? They were supposedly used to pump out these retaliatory fake invoices. And then there's Big Mike Towing, acting as a decoy carrier alias just to totally confuse the customers. The whole shebang was incredibly coordinated.
To really wrap our heads around their scheme, we got to talk about something called cross-docking. Now, usually, this is a completely normal, 100% legal logistics practice used to quickly transfer freight from one truck to another. But the lawsuit claims this enterprise completely weaponized it. They allegedly hauled trailers back to their yard to secretly commingle and reconsolidate sealed food freight. We're talking about mixing completely different orders together, all without the customers ever knowing that their supposedly sealed loads have been busted open.
You're probably wondering, how on earth did they pull this off without breaking those tamper-evident security seals that are literally designed to protect our food? Well, they allegedly used this incredibly simple yet totally shocking mechanical fraud. They call it the nut and bolt trick. Basically, they'd pop the factory rivet right out of the trailer door, stick a bolt through from the inside, and then slap a removable nut on the outside. This slick little trick allowed them to literally take the doors completely off their hinges, completely bypassing the security seal without ever breaking it. Crazy, right? And listen, this isn't just speculation or some wild guesswork. The lawsuit absolutely brings the receipts. We have actual text messages from March 10, 2024. A dispatcher, Ryan Davidovich, is explicitly instructing a driver to forge federal bills of lading. The text literally says, "Put more white out and reprint so old numbers are not visible." I mean, they were allegedly covering their tracks in real time, faking the exact safety documents that are supposed to guarantee product integrity.
Actually, it gets even more chilling when you look at these texts from late April. Ryan allegedly demanded the driver physically probe, or what they call pulp, the sealed food products right in the middle of transit. He tells them to make sure the original seal number is printed on the paperwork, and then says, "Pulp the product, send me pic." By ordering a driver to secretly jab a thermometer into the food and snap photos, they're directly compromising the food's safety and temperature control, all while putting on this grand illusion that the seal was never broken.
So enter our whistleblower, Paul Rodoslavov. Paul is an independent contractor truck driver from down in Georgia who somehow found himself unwittingly caught right in the dead center of this massive syndicate. And when he started realizing what was actually happening to the food he was hauling and the federal laws he was being asked to break, he just said no. He flat out refused to participate. But as you can probably guess, taking a stand against an operation like this, it came with a massive personal cost. Things went south incredibly fast. Paul only signed his contract in late February of 2024, right? But by March, he's already getting pushed to forge documents. The whole situation finally explodes on April 12th. Paul is legally parked at a rest stop in Rochelle, Illinois, when his truck gets smashed by a hit-and-run driver. And here's the kicker. Even though Paul was literally just sitting there, doing absolutely everything right, he was the one who ended up getting punished for it.
There was an official Illinois traffic crash report that definitively proved Paul was parked, and totally without fault. Didn't matter. Despite the police report, Mike Davidovich allegedly and maliciously deducted a staggering $5,000 right out of Paul's very next paycheck. They called it an accident deductible, but if you read the complaint, it alleges this was nothing more than a totally arbitrary punishment.
just a deceptive payroll tactic to exert control and basically steal his hard-earned wages.
The absolute breaking point hit on May 7th, down near Atlanta. Paul is hauling this super heavy Costco load, and suddenly his truck's brakes throw a major system error. Paul does the safe thing, he pulls over, knowing this rig is now dangerously unsafe to drive. But when he calls it in, Stephen Davidovich allegedly threatens him point blank. He tells Paul that if he doesn't keep driving that faulty, essentially weaponized vehicle on public roads, they're going to report the truck as stolen and have Paul thrown in jail.
Well, Paul bravely parked the unsafe truck anyway, and that triggered an absolutely explosive chain reaction. On May 8th, he's fired for refusing to drive. The very next day, he takes his evidence straight to Costco, resulting in that tampered load getting immediately rejected. It snowballed quickly. By May 21st, the customer completely drops Setri Trucking. And then, on May 29th, Paul takes the gloves off. He fights back and files a formal Department of Labor whistleblower complaint.
Okay, let's look at the retaliation, because the Davidovich enterprise allegedly went to some incredibly ruthless lengths to just completely destroy Paul's livelihood and shut him up. The lawsuit lays it all out. They killed his access to his electronic logging device, basically trying to hide his driving records. A safety director threatened to call the cops to seize his truck keys. They withheld a $1,000 security deposit, kept over $4,300 of pay he had already earned, and, get this, they even fired Paul's friend Vladislav strictly by association.
But for sure, the most damning evidence of this retaliation is this magically shifting fake debt. One of their shell companies, Better Repair, suddenly manufactures this massive $11,000 invoice just to justify stealing Paul's wages. And the charges are absurd. They're billing a trucker for things like plane tickets and Uber rides. Come on. Then, and you can't make this up, 2 years later, they mysteriously revise the invoice. They delete the plane tickets and suddenly add these random mileage fees, which honestly looks like a totally desperate attempt to cover their tracks.
And the financial deception didn't even stop there. We're talking about an incredible double-dip scheme. The lawsuit shows that Quality Transport secretly billed the customer for $7,600 in transport fees for those rejected loads, which the customer actually paid in full. But at the exact same time, the shell company Better Repair used those exact same $7,600 in transport charges on their fake invoice to drain Paul's paycheck. They literally charged the customer and the driver for the exact same thing.
When you add it all up, the lawsuit alleges this whole elaborate shell game of shifting invoices and fake fees was used to steal over $10 grand, $10,400.18 to be exact, directly out of Paul's pocket. That is serious, real money stolen from a guy whose only crime was trying to follow the law and trying to keep unsafe trucks and totally compromised food off of our public highways.
So this all culminates in the massive federal lawsuit we've been talking about. Paul is now weaponizing some extremely powerful anti-racketeering and whistleblower laws to strike back against the entire Davidovich family operation. I mean, the charges are heavy hitters. You've got substantive RICO violations, RICO conspiracy, Whistleblower Act violations, deceptive business practices, the works. It is a massive legal hammer dropping down on a system that was allegedly built from the ground up on pure deception.
Which ultimately brings us to a pretty chilling final thought. When you go buy groceries tomorrow, who fought the invisible battle to keep that food safe for your family? This whole explainer really leaves us with a haunting realization about these hidden, high-stakes wars being fought by solitary whistleblowers out there on our nation's highways. It really makes you wonder, how many other Pauls are out there right now risking their entire livelihoods just to protect the rest of us?